Hey guys, welcome back. Will Beach here. Apologize for not getting a video over the weekend. So my daughter broke my headset, and this is the broken one. So I'm trying to make it work just to produce a video here until I get a new one coming in. So anyways, uh, so did we just enter momentum? So the answer is yes, we did. But so the trick to this strategy is to catch it after it dips now. So what are we looking at? So after we, bounced around in this area that I call the dead zone, you see it finally kind of emerged out of it once, pulled back again, and then merged out of it for a second time to get a good run, right? So then we entered into what we call momentum state, which is indicated right here with a long entry based on this ADX move above 25, right? So then what are we looking for? Now that we've run up so hard, we still want to look for a pullback, and that pullback will happen when the MACD crosses back to the red side, so when the green line crosses the red, and then we're looking for an entry when it crosses back over again. So that would be a dip in this strong move, which would curve under and then rip again. Okay, so that's the move we're looking for. If it never comes back, then that move was not strong enough, which is why you wait for it to come back. Okay, so you're looking here on the daily, to which we still have not entered momentum. Now, what are we looking for though? Most likely, we're looking for a retest of these highs, okay? 137. So as long as everything stays strong, you're looking for a retest into this range again, which is 134 to 137. Right now, you can see that everything's positive above zero. MACD's looking good. It was curving down and then bounced. And then ADX is still creeping up, and stochastic is a very high 80s, which, it was a pullback, and now it's starting to come back, which could be a good sign to continue onwards momentum. But as long as it's underneath, that's also, a sign of weakness. So we got to wait to see. What I believe is that on our 1 hour time frame, which is the time frame we've been tracking, is that we wait for our pullback. It should bounce. It's either going to bounce on the 20 SMA, which is this green line, or the 50 SMA, which is the yellow line. It could go off of either, but regardless of the SMA that it bounces off, we're really looking for the MACD complete pullback and then continuation. So that's what we will be looking for. That's when we'll know that we have a legitimate strong entry point that should take, a nice, large, significant gains. Now today was the start of that, right? $6 in gains is great. So again, what you want to see is a pullback that gives you a great entry, right? You have this strong move, and what happens is most people would jump in right now, and yes, there could still be gains beyond this, but they would have to face the downside, and that's where people go wrong. That's where they can't stomach it, right? So if you entered now and it began to pull back, you might see $2, $3, $4 pullback and go, oh crap, like I made the wrong move, just to turn around and have it continue in the same direction that you wanted it to go. So there's a couple confirmations here. So not only did it run strong here, but it did this Bollinger Band, or Bollinger Band confirmation. It's going to be pretty hard to see, but this inner dotted line Bollinger Bands is a special setting that if we continue to close above or below, but in this case above, for over five ticks, and then you get pullback, and then you get a continuation that breaks the high. It's a pivot high break, and then you indicate your next move on a percentage. So basically from where that move started, so we'll say right here, up to the peak of where that was broken was $4.94. So the trick here is that our price target would be an additional $4.94. So what does that look like? 126.98 plus 494. Bring up the calculator. And I got a cat next to me. 126.98 plus 494. So we would be looking at potentially 131.92 as a price target. Now, it could go up and see that again right now. I mean, it can keep running. There is no rule to a momentum state. It keep running. But what I found is the best bet is not to chase it once it's run like this, but to wait for the pullback and then jump on board once it confirms that it wants to continue to run. What you normally see is that this initial run up is about 80% of its full price movement, and you got to wait 2 or 3 times as long to get the full move. So if you were in this now, this would be a great place to take some profit and then wait for that pullback. And if that pullback confirms the next step up, then you can pick it back up and run it for the rest of the percentage gains. Now, if that MACD never comes back up, then you just saved yourself a ton of money. I didn't see that cat tail. I got a street cat over here running around. Then you just saved yourself a ton of money, right? You took profit off the table, and then you realize that it may not continue. That's why we use MACD as confirmation. So initial run up, pullback with MACD, confirmation with MACD, and then run for our full price target, which again would be 131.92. But again, if you're back in that range and you already know you have these existing highs, you're really looking for a retest of those highs. So I hope that helps everyone. We'll just take another look. We kind of have the daily pulled up already. You can see it's in a good place. It's starting to push on these Bollinger Bands, and that's always a good sign. Let's see what we got on the 4-hour chart. 4-hour chart is almost straight up without actually being in confirmed momentum, but it's definitely going to push up hard. But because of this should be what we're looking for, as far as it's going to push up and then pull back, because based on the 4-hour chart is it would need to pull back, but we'll see. 2-hour, same thing, right? No long entry has been confirmed or made here, and it's pushing past all these Bollingers. So we'd want to see a pullback and a continuation, which would lead these into long entry potentials. Does that make sense? Because of time scale, right? So 1 hour's in it. These ones, 2-hour and 4-hour, have not been entered into it. So they need to pull back to get entered into it, which again would confirm the 1-hour pullback and continuation. So that's what we'd be looking for. I know it's a little confusing. It's a lot to look at, but that's why I'm trying to break it down the best I can. Go down to a 30-minute. What did you get? Long entry, right? Long entry, and then just continuation, and it just kept running. Now that is a possibility. You can always enter at this price point as long as you have your stop set kind of below it for an initial reaction. Like if you don't want to wait for pullback initially, and you want to see if it'll continue running, by all means, but don't be surprised if you get long entry initiated followed by an immediate pullback and then a continuation. A lot of times if you get this run up that's continued right off the long entry, there is no follow-up because it just kept running right past it. This is not the ideal setup for me personally, because it didn't confirm it. It just kind of just kept running. So although a very strong initial move, that would also be an indication of the final move, meaning it's going to just come back just as hard, right? Almost like a V-shaped formation. But we'll keep an eye on it because the 1 hour does have the potential to pull back and continue. We'll keep an eye on it. This gap in the Bollinger Band here means there is still room if it wanted to try and push up. But these ticks, right, we're in after hours now. They get smaller and smaller, and then next thing you know, you get a little consolidation, and then you get pullback. Hopefully you get somewhere close to the 50 or 20. I like the 50 better, but 20 is fine, and then a continuation. This is a 1 minute time scale. So if you were going to day trade this, this is what you would see. And this actually is allowing me to show you guys what I'm talking about. Long entry was initiated very early this morning, right? And then you get a continued run. You never got a pullback. So then when you finally get your MACD pullback, you're looking for it to bounce and continue, which it did not. You see that? It went here and it just came down, and it didn't continue down too far, right? You see this price range is not very far, but it consolidated and consolidated, right? And you got your long exit here, right at the 50 when it broke through it. So then at this point, you don't have any strong entry points until way over here. And this is what you this is what you really want to see. You see it, just a slight movement, right? It's not as strong like you saw earlier. You get the MACD pullback like I was talking about. This would kind of be a fake out where it went down and right back up. But if you see, it never tested any major supports, which is 20 or 50. So it'd kind of be an indication that it wasn't the right pullback. Then you get right here back to the 50. You get your long exit just like it did before. So when I tell you guys these patterns just keep repeating, I'm showing you that with the right indicators on your page, you can see that they repeat. So right at the 50, you get the exit again, right? And then it thinks it's going to go down, but we're in that dead zone. So, you know, that's not a play. So we're just watching, and then all of a sudden it builds back up above the 50. 50 holds as support, and you get a continuation. So when you see it on a small scale, you know what you're looking for on a large scale. And obviously time is a factor, right? So something that took an hour and a half, 2 hours on this 1 minute time scale, if you increase that to your 1 hour time scale, you might be looking at a day or 2 days to get a pullback and a confirmation continuation, right? So something to be mindful of. All right, we know that we're ending our trend, or to be cautious of the trend ending, when we have our ADX cross back over to the negative side. So as you can see here, it's happening right in front of our eyes because the market is still running in after hours. When we get this crossover, we would be looking for it to fade out. The move has gone as strong as it's going to go for now, and it's going to fade. So on a 1 minute time scale, you would have got, and if you see the crossovers should almost line up with each other. So your entry, you aren't missing any entry if you do this right, because you enter here, and then when you get confirmation, it's almost in the exact same spot, right? So you don't actually lose anything, right? And now you have a stop, because you know that if it crosses below this, right, it's going to be a stronger downside move. So anyways, let's say we purchase right here, and by the end of the day, we were up another 60 cents. And if you had like a Friday contract, a 60-cent move probably would have moved you, you know, maybe 10, 15 bucks, and that would have been small account growth, right? 10 or 15 bucks. I was running some other stuff. I am also running NASDAQ futures, so keep you guys in the loop with that later on. But that's why I don't always focus on this, but they're at least correlated somewhat with each other. So that's the type of move that you would be looking for. And again, you still have to go through the waves, right? But you know that the trend is ultimately up. think that should wrap it up for this episode. It should confirm. Here's a 10-minute, right? Long entry in pre-market, and never got any type of pullback in MACD until back here after it's already been lifted, and then kind of another confirmation to entry when MACD was trying to cross back over. But if you see, this is the thing about momentum and indicators that people don't really understand. The MACD is showing mainly red, but the price movement is going up. Okay? That people sell when this happens. But what they don't understand is when a stock has entered a momentous state, it is not coming down on that, like really coming down on this MACD move when you got such strong signals across the board, stochastic and ADX and momentum, right? If this momentum never comes back down, like there's kind of like this little fake out and you got like a decent red candle right here with an immediate bounce back. I mean, this is what momentum is. It defies pretty much everything. It just keeps on running. And if you find these on a large scale, like a daily chart or a weekly chart, you're talking about 6 months, a year, many years of just momentum building run-ups. And that's what these have been doing for such a long time now. So I am a little cautious. Like this is, if you see here, I mean, this is a lot of time. Let me do this so that it will actually, you can see the bar. This is 6 months, almost to the day, and $65 worth of gains. Okay, 6 months. Here's a long entry. Here is a MACD pullback, and here is a MACD continuation. Right. From this point, it has never tried to go lower at all. Not once. Just straight momentum. See that? From this point right here, right? Indication, confirmation, it has never tried to go below this point. Not one time during momentum. So that's the power of what we're dealing with. We're looking at it on a smaller scale. We're looking at it on the 1 hour time frame. And that's so you don't lose your heads, right? It's so you don't lose your accounts, because if you did it on, right, the larger the scale, the bigger the move. So if you had pullback, I mean, you could really psych yourself up if you were going to get a major pullback on a daily or a weekly. I mean, that could destroy your account real quick. You would sell really fast because you wouldn't mentally know how to handle that pullback, understanding that there might be, you know, the continuation afterwards. All right, guys, that wraps it up. I appreciate it. Take care. Let me know if you have any questions, and we'll follow up again either tomorrow night or Thursday.